Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at slope. So we are going to use what we already know about graphs and lines on graphs and determine the slope of lines and just draw conclusions about those lines on the graph. So slope is a number that tells how steep a line is. The slope of a line is found by looking at the change in y with respect to the change in x. So remember, we're taking apart those coordinate points and looking at the change in y between two y values and the change in x between two x values. It's also defined as rise over run. Because when we look at y values take into account the up and down vertical motion, whereas x values look at the left to right, what we consider the running motion. The steepness of a line from left to right, that's what slope is. So we're always reading slope from left to right. A line with a positive slope rises to the right. So imagine going uphill. A line with a negative slope falls to the right. So imagine going downhill or like a ski slope. And then a line with zero slope is just a horizontal line. So you're just walking straight across the floor. Slope is not defined for vertical lines. So if you have a vertical line on a graph, you are just going to have an undefined slope. Okay. When we look, okay, so the last part, the greater the absolute value, the steeper the line. So we can have positive and negative slope, but if you take the absolute value of those slopes, whatever is higher, you're going to have a steeper line. It just might be going uphill or downhill, positive or negative. So here's an example. A line with a slope of 4 is steeper than a line with a slope of 1/2. A line with a slope of -3 is steeper than a line with a slope of -1. So the absolute value of -3 and the absolute value of -1, this one is going to be greater. So that is what we are talking about here. Okay, so now we're going to look into calculating slope. So this is what we talked about above, that rise over run or change in y over change in x. So you have 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, and you will subtract the difference between those points and then divide them, and that will give you your slope. So let's take a look at the first example down at the bottom. So it's always helpful, especially when you're starting out, to label what your x and y's are, x1 and y1, and x2 and y2. So this one I'm going to call x1, this one I'm going to call y1, x2, y2. All right, so when I set this up, I am going to do the second y value minus the first y value. So I have 4 minus 1, and then I have 3 minus 0 because x2 minus x1. So 3 minus 0. And when we do that, we get 4 minus 1, which is 3, and 3 minus 0, which is also 3. So 3 divided by 3 means that we have a 1, and slope can be represented with the letter m. You will see more of that in your next video, so we're going to say that the slope equals 1. So for the next one, we're going to go through and label again. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. Same as before, we're going to do y2 minus y1. So I'm going to set this up 2 minus -2, and then I'm going to put that over 3 minus 1. So we haven't really talked a whole lot about integer operations, but when you subtract a negative, you are really going to add a positive because those two negatives essentially are going to cancel out. So instead of having 2 minus negative 2, we could rewrite that as 2 plus positive 2. And that would give us a difference of 4. And then we have 3 minus 1, which is 2. So if we simplify this, 4 divided by 2, that would give me 2. So my slope, m equals 2. All right, and then the last one, so same thing, we're going to go through and label x1, y1, x2, y2. So let's do y2 minus y1, so 2 minus negative 4 over 2 minus 4. So 2 minus negative 4, just like we talked about in this problem, could be rewritten as 2 plus positive 4 because we are looking at the difference between 2 and negative 4. So if you think about a number line, there would be 6 units between 2 and negative 4 on a number line. So that's where we're getting this from. So 2 plus positive 4 gives us 6. And then 2 minus 4 would give us negative 2. So when we divide a positive by a negative number, our answer will be negative, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So our answer would be negative 3 for this one. So we could rewrite this and say that m equals negative 3. All right. If you have any questions, make sure you note them on your Google form, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks.